the people that are hurting significantly at the moment are the people of the United Kingdom. How much longer can we afford to support the battle in Ukraine?
Well, I think if we don't continue to support Ukraine in its battle against Putin, against this illegal invasion, the price will be much greater to pay, Kay. I am certain of that, which is why we have to remain resolute. We have to coordinate. If you look at what Chancellor Scholz is doing in Germany, where Germany is much more dependent on Russian energy. Of course, other countries in Europe, what is happening in the United States, this is something that we all have to deal with. We welcomed Volodymyr Zelensky to Parliament, had him beamed in live. The Prime Minister stood at the dispatch box and actually reminded the nation that there is more to come in terms of what we need to do, not just the help in terms of weapons and aid, but we need to be resolute and remember why we're doing this. There is war on our continent. Very few people predicted there'll be war on our continent. Wars happened in far-flung places. And our response now, our ability to stay strong, of course, we have to make sure, as Chancellor, as a government, we help those families that need the help, target that help.
Tell me what that looks like.
Well, we're at the moment midway of spending about 37 billion.
Yeah, but it's not enough, Chancellor.
Of course it's not, which is
so
why
what are we going to do?
The moment I walked into the Treasury on the 5th of July, I gathered my leadership team. I said, one, how are we doing on delivering the help? Because it's one thing to announce it, very different to get it into people's accounts. And there was a big focus on that. But equally importantly, I said we need to prepare options for the incoming Prime Minister, because if you think about the help we're putting in,
but tell me what those options look like.
I'm about to take you through.
Do.
So if you think about what we're putting in now, the most vulnerable 8 million households will get £1,200. Everyone will get £400 off their bill. That really sort of helps with about 50% of this additional increase with the energy price cap going up that's been announced between October and December. I need to begin to think about what happens in January and then in the rest of next year.
When you say begin to think, surely you've already been thinking about it.
Of course. What I meant is we have to deliver for people.
Tell me what it looks like though, Chancellor.
So there's nothing off the table. We're looking at all the options. Everything from the Chief Executive of Scottish Power talking about help where we need to maybe create some sort of a fund for companies to be able to continue to help their customers, all the way through to making sure that we target the help to both households and small and medium-sized businesses and probably some larger businesses, because one of my concerns is the scarring effect on the economy if perfectly viable businesses in hospitality and leisure, in high energy use businesses would actually suffer or no longer exist because of Putin's use of energy as a weapon.
You said that you were looking at two separate plans depending on who was Prime Minister. How do they differ?
Well, no, I think our responsibility is to make sure we look at the pledges being made by the different candidates. So Liz Truss has pledged to have a moratorium on the green levies.
Do you support that?
It certainly is something that I think will help everyone. It's about £150 of additional help. So we've worked out those options.
But you'd have to put that into general taxation then, wouldn't you?
Well, there is headroom.
You would?
No, well, no, not necessarily, because actually we have some headroom at the moment. Certainly, if you look at on the capital side of the balance sheet, we've got some headroom. I've got to make sure I put all those up. There are no easy options. That's the one thing we know, because...
To clarify, are there two separate plans depending on who's Prime Minister?
Well, no, what we're doing is making sure we look at the pledges from both candidates, but also look at everything else that we've been told by the energy sector. So I had the energy companies come in to talk about things like liquidity in the wholesale market. I'm working with the Bank of England to look at how we can provide better liquidity in the wholesale market for energy. They tell me that would actually help with about £400 to £500 of reduction in the energy price cap. Look at those companies that are generating wind power and nuclear power but getting paid at gas prices. Can we enter an agreement with them for a voluntary contract for difference, it's called CFD, at a lower price now because they're not doing anything differently in their business, but they're making very large profits.
It's all tinkering, though, isn't it?
No, that's not. That's actually quite a significant piece of work. But that won't be ready till next winter.
Exactly.
But we have to make sure we get the help, the additional help, from January onwards.
So what's the next round of support looking like in numbers?
So, again, look, what I'm not going to do here, and it would be irresponsible of a Chancellor to begin to talk numbers before a new Prime Minister is in number 10.
But you've been planning it, so you know what it looks like.
Well, because I've got to give them those options.
Sure, so you know what the numbers are, you're just not going to tell me.
Decisions. No, what I'm saying to you is it would be irresponsible, and I think Liz Truss was right on this, she's not going to set a budget during a campaign. She'd need to look at the detail. I would need to present her those details, and of course then she will need to make a decision. What my responsibility is to help her hit the ground running, and that I pledge to you and your viewers we will do.
How concerned are you that people are going to freeze from the cold this winter at home because they can't afford to put their energy on?
I'm deeply concerned. I mean, those people on prepaid meters, we've got to make sure that's why I go back and say to you, my preference is targeting the help. Labour have talked about a sort of universal piece of help that would cost about.
But when I ask you who you're targeting it at, you won't tell me. So when will we know?
No, what I'm saying to you is actually it's better to target the help for those families that really need it, as we're doing now with the 8 million families getting £1,200. Target it for SMEs, so hospitality, high energy use sectors, maybe some larger businesses who are also finding it very difficult. When your energy bill has gone up by 3.5 times, 4 times, it's very difficult to be able to sustain your business. And I don't want to see that scarring effect that we could be left with in the economy. So all that work we will make sure is ready for the incoming Prime Minister. That's the right thing to do. And then, of course, in the longer term, we have an energy strategy that ensures that we have
that involves nuclear?
Resilience. Very much involves nuclear. It involves offshore wind. It involves, of course, tidal energy. I went to visit a company in Scotland that has actually commercialised tidal energy. The beauty of tidal energy is actually you can use it for base load because you can predict the tide. Unlike wind and sun, tidal energy is reasonably predictable. So lots of investment in offshore wind. We've seen an increase in our gas production by about 26% this year because of the policies that Kwasi Kwarteng put in place.
Is he going to get your job, by the way?
Well, that's up to the incoming Prime Minister. If Liz Truss is the Prime Minister, then she'll have to decide her cabinet.
Do you want to remain Chancellor?
I will serve wherever Liz Truss, if she's our Prime Minister, and I hope she is the Prime Minister, decides to...
Even if it's health?
Wherever she decides. You remember what I have always said to you, we are a team. We have to spend the next 24 months delivering for the nation. We have to make sure we help people in this difficult time where Putin is using energy as a tool to try and divide us, both domestically, but also divide us as an alliance.
I know you've got to go. Let me talk to you about Sizewell C quickly. Is that going to be launched by the Prime Minister?
Well,
he's making a speech, isn't he?
There is ongoing negotiations with...
Is it a good idea?
With EDF. It is certainly a good idea that we continue to invest in nuclear. It broke my heart when I saw that, I think it was a meme, a video of Nick Clegg saying we won't invest in nuclear because it won't be ready till 2021. If we'd made that investment then, Labour divesting from nuclear under Ed Miliband, those things should have happened. If they had happened, we wouldn't be challenged in the way we are challenged today because of Putin using energy. Boris Johnson and I hope Liz Truss will make sure that we deliver nuclear, both in terms of large nuclear, but then the really exciting things, things like the Rolls-Royce working with Constellation Energy, the US energy company, on the SMRs. These are the future of nuclear, small modular reactors, and then the AMRs beyond that, which are really exciting. We've been talking about them here with our colleagues.
Which is why you're here, yeah, I get that.
So lots of really important investment decisions for the medium and longer term, but not to forget that people will need help this winter. And my pledge to your viewers is more help beyond the 37 billion will also be coming.
But we don't know what it is yet. Final question before I must let you go. I understand that. Can you guarantee to my viewers that not one of them will find themselves in a position where they are cut off because they cannot afford to pay their bills?
No one should be cut off because they can't afford their bills. I'm working with the companies to make sure, and NGOs, of course, to make sure those people who really are struggling get that help, both financially, the 37 billion, but the companies themselves have already started to write letters and emails to ask people if they are vulnerable, if they're feeling that they can't pay, that they should contact their supplier, their companies. My pledge to your viewers is that we will deliver the 37 billion, so that £1,200 to the most vulnerable 8 million households, but we'll go beyond that because we know we need to, and we need to send a message to Mr. Putin that this strategy is not going to work, which is why we have to target the help to the most vulnerable, to allow us to stretch that help as far as we can, and then, of course, make sure that we remain resolute as a coalition to continue to help Ukraine in their battle. They're paying with their lives, with their blood. What we have to do is make sure we continue to help them.
Mr. Chancellor, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.